with Mark Haan.
Welcome to Inebriated Insights, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Haan. Joining me tonight, Dave Stratton, Christine Tarbet, and Jarrett Kaufman. How's it going, guys?
Great.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
I was wondering if you were going to do the Liza Minnelli.
Of
Really?
course.
Yeah.
I can even do a little bit of Carol Channing. Literally the
Listen
only
up, young man.
the only impersonations that I do are old ladies.
Old women. Joan Rivers
I
and
was gonna say we're
like,
coming in hot with the 1960s actress impersonation.
That's what the young people like.
Mm-hmm. Very current, very present.
that's what all the kids are doing now.
And Biden would love it.
I am
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would be his demo. So this is a show where we play a drinking game while talking about politics because it's hopelessly depressing. Dave, what is our drinking word for tonight?
We have Congress and then partisanship. Anything partisan, partisanship, bipartisan, artisan bread.
Artisanal bread.
Yes,
Congress of
artisanal.
the cow.
Yeah,
Lady
artisanal.
parts.
There, or
Always lady parts.
always lady parts. Anytime
I
you
will
say
always
any-
drink to lady parts.
Of course. Of course.
I know you will, Jet.
Yes.
We've discussed this.
Ad nauseum.
Drink
Yeah.
out of lady parts.
Yeah,
All right.
been there,
took
done that.
Oh, wow.
Wrong show.
All right.
Yeah.
Shall we,
Save that for the
guys?
weekend. Oh,
Yes.
Let's
yeah. All right,
let's get into our
let's
first topic.
do this. Oh, sorry.
Oh boy,
Good
I
start.
felt that.
Yeah.
I felt that vicariously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, we
All
have like
right.
a synchronized puke. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yesterday, Joe Biden delivered a speech to a joint session of Congress in which he pitched his $2.2 trillion jobs and infrastructure plan and his $1.8 trillion American Families Plan. Senator Tim Scott delivered the customary opposition party's rebuttal by claiming America isn't a racist country, while citing instances in which he and his family suffered from racism, and felt the need to clarify that despite all their voter suppression bills at state legislatures across the country, Republicans are still in favor of people being able to vote.
So stupid.
Polling suggests Biden's speech was a big hit. One poll showed 85% approval rating, although, should be noted, 54% of the respondents were Democrats. Still very good, though.
Mhm.
Jet, what were your impressions of both Biden and Scott's speeches?
I thought Biden's was it was strong overall. Obviously, it was positive. I think that's a big comparison, a big contrast. I mean, obviously, Trump always liked to go positive within his framework, but then again, he would also then spend all of his time talking about how he won the election and all the records he broke and everything and so on. But Biden was very much focused on the country and certainly all the things I cared about. Now, not necessarily all of them anywhere near far enough for me, but it was nice to hear them cared about at all. I'm not sure the last time if ever I heard a president actively say to the transgender community, I've got your back. Like that was incredible. So there was so much there to love and so much effort. The downsides of it, I'd say, was so much of it, and I get the technicality of this, but it still sucks. So much of it was, here are all the things I want Congress to do.
Yeah, and then Congress can't do anything because
Congress.
Yeah,
Congress
but
4 times.
Yeah, but that was the case with everything. Was I'm going to call on those people to get me a bill so that we can get this to happen. And great. I mean, again, let's make it happen. But to a degree, that's kind of lip service. Again, obviously, as a much more progressive, it was all not quite enough, but it was still way more than we've had in so incredibly long that it still felt amazing. Other than that, like I got super exhausted watching Nancy Pelosi waiting to stand up. It was the entire time where she was just hovering there. It's like, oh no, not quite yet. Wait. Now. And so that felt rehearsed, and so that was super distracting to me. But overall, it was strong, and I also feel like it's really hard with what he said for the average person to be able to do the gymnastics they need to disagree. Now, of course, plenty of them will, but that 85% approval poll that you found, that sounds to me like what it should have been. I feel like most Americans should look at that and go, this all sounds really good for me, especially with he made so much effort, very good effort to jump in at the beginning of the budget of the talks of increasing taxes to start with. Here's why it's not going to affect most people. Here are the groups that will be completely not affected by this. That was so necessary to start there, and he did it, and I feel like it worked for the most part.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I agree with you. I mean, one of the best things about Joe is Uncle Joe.
Not your husband, Joe.
Yeah. About my husband, Joe. Let's get off of this Biden character.
He's great.
Woke Joe, as I call him.
I call him Woke Joe, actually.
No, but I mean, that is his ability to just plain speak, and I do think that works. And I think like you said too, the positivity, the plain spokenness, I agree. You have to be just kind of completely against. You might have to think he's a pedophile, like so many do, to actually be like, that was horrible.
Yeah. And yet we saw a lot, because that was the other thing I was watching, is I was watching the Republican reactions to so many things that should have been universally positive. And you could see there were a few Republicans who would applaud occasionally. Now, it was rare, and it was usually a very polite applause versus the huge applause from the Democrats. But occasionally you'd see a few of them. But the one that really jumped out at me, actually, no, I'll save this for later.
Oh, okay. That's who you should fuck off.
Exactly.
They don't like clean water, and they don't like cutting child poverty.
Yeah. Well,
I did find it super amusing when they brought up the cops and the support for cops, and that was the point where you could see the Republicans doing their math in their heads and realizing, wait, we have to applaud really loudly at this moment, or we're going to go against our demographic.
So what drives me crazy is that, again, they're not in favor of policies that will help all of their the majority of their constituents. All of our Republican base is, the majority of them are poor and they need
under
clean water. Yeah, it's all of these programs that Biden addressed with his Jobs Act would all help them all, every single one of them. It would really help them. But no, we need coal because coal gives me black lung. It's but coal mines have been completely that. Not only do they not use coal as much anymore, but even the mining technology is based on machines. They don't have as many coal workers as they did. So why not just invest in clean energy, and you can get a job, repairing and building wind turbines and solar panels and biothermal and wave technology, all this shit. Instead, you're just no, we gotta get our fucking gung-ho still into whole coal, because for some reason they tell us that it's, my grandpa did it and died of black lung. I don't know. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So my point is that there's these policies that are on the table that would greatly benefit them, but they don't want them to happen just because they're Democratic. And also, they're going to increase the budget. But as we know, this whole fucking budget, government spending is not as bad as a lot of Republicans make it out to be. As long as the government invests in our people in the future, the return will be much greater than just fucking cutting taxes for the rich. That's not going to help anybody else.
And these are both paid for, by the way. The $4 trillion, it's all paid for. It doesn't add anything to the deficit in his plans. I thought the two things I found were interesting. A lot of times Joe sounded more like Bernie. There was a lot of billionaires pay their fair share in taxes. He said healthcare is a right, not a privilege. The middle class built this country. So a lot of Bernie rhetoric.
Yeah.
Tim Scott is interesting to me because he comes off as very reasonable and sincere. Um, his speech lived in an alternate reality.
Which is all Republican thinking, is that they live in a fantasy world. But
well, the one thing that was most glaring to me, other than the America's not racist at all, was the COVID, because he portrayed COVID as like Trump did a great job, and then Biden just inherited this amazing job that he did.
That is
bullshit.
I have seen that. I have seen that all over conservative Reddit.
And because there were less than 1 million shots being administered when Trump left, and Biden got it to over 4 million, Biden inherited the worst recession since the Great Depression. So it's just, that made my skin crawl.
Well, but Trump's whole philosophy with the whole COVID vaccine is like, oh, it's up to the states. We're not going to do as much because we don't want federal control over this crisis. It's up to the states to distribute the vaccine. He didn't step in. He didn't get anything for people. It was absolute disaster. I mean, I still feel, we talked about this several shows ago, but it is all on him. Like, it should be called the Trump-Bolton virus, not the China virus that he keeps on calling it. If he didn't take out the pandemic response team out of Wuhan, I highly, highly feel that we wouldn't be in this pandemic right now. But that's just my opinion. Maybe it's just a nut job theory.
The last thing that I was going to say was Tim Scott strikes me as one of those Republicans who, if they nominated him, could potentially win a national popular vote. But they never will, because they never nominate, for one thing, they'd never nominate a black man. And for another, he's not MAGA enough. They're going to go with the person who's the most MAGA. I feel like, whether that's Tucker Carlson or Ron DeSantis or Ivanka. But let's go ahead and move on.
Now I'm nauseated.
All those names made you throw up.
A little bit.
Well, this week, California State Department announced that efforts to recall Governor Gavin Newsom had reached enough signatures to initiate a recall election this fall, an action that could cost California taxpayers as much as $400 million. California voters will face two questions. First, whether or not to recall Newsom, and second, who to elect instead. It is insanely easy to file to become a gubernatorial candidate in California. I think you only have to pay like $4,000.
I'm going to do it.
Or it could be zero if you get 7,000. I looked it up because I was like, I'm running. You either pay 4,000 and get 65 signatures, or if you get 7,000 signatures, you don't have to pay anything.
Wow. That's like easier than running for state senate in some states.
Go ahead, Mark.
If you were to be recalled, any gubernatorial candidate would only have to get a plurality of votes to win an election, which means dozens of people could run, and a candidate like Caitlyn Jenner, who's sitting behind Dave right now, could win with literally sitting behind Dave like Jason Voorhees. She's gonna murder him right now. Could win with merely 10 to 20% of the vote. Dave, are you at all concerned that we could end up with a MAGA governor?
I am not that concerned. First of all, I don't think Newsom's gonna be recalled. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being naive, but I mean, he did some shitty things, and there's a lot. California has the largest Republican population out of any other state, and people don't realize that just because we vote blue all the time, because there's far more Democrats than there are Republicans, but the state is literally the size bigger than the majority of countries out there, population wise, land wise too. But anyway, so it's only 40% of the people think that Newsom's going to be recalled, and I don't know. I don't think it's going to get to that point. Like I was saying, he did some shitty things. I don't feel that I think our country's, I mean, fuck, I do feel California's like a country, but I think our state's doing pretty good. I'm not complaining. We're prospering, and we have some of the lowest COVID rates. LA County is expected to go into the lowest tier of the COVID branch, which is, I believe, yellow, in May 5th. We're doing far better than the majority of other states in the union right now with COVID cases. I mean, so, like, Caitlyn Jenner is bitching about how he closed off the state, but it worked. I mean, look at our cases. Look at our progress. It has worked. So, what the fuck? Plus, I don't feel... So, Caitlyn Jenner, I don't feel she will get the support that she wants from her base. I mean, it's sad to say.
She hasn't from her family yet.
She has, what was that?
No one in her family has endorsed her yet.
Yeah, so like, I mean, look at your stereotypical Republicans, especially the Republicans in California are a little bit different from Republicans in the rest of the country. But, I don't feel that they would want to elect a trans woman. I don't know. Jet, you're kind of groaning there. Do you agree, or?
Yeah, I mean, I still think our country is not there yet, and that includes our state. As much as we're obviously a much more progressive state than virtually all of the rest of the country, if not all of the rest of the country. I mean, the plurality part of it is interesting, and that's I think the only way that it could possibly happen is if just that right combination of people happens to vote in that direction, and she's got just the right magic mix there. But the thing is, I don't think she has the magic that the governor had, because of course he came in under the exact same circumstances. We recalled Gray Davis, and we ended up with him in the process, and the thing is, he could cross party lines because he was very popular. He was a movie star, and he was also just a strange choice, and people really loved that. And granted, I suppose in a way she has that, but she doesn't have that overall. She's not one of the biggest movie stars of all time.
So Arnold actually, like, even though he is conservative, like his views are completely different from like Trump or Bush's. It was like he was reasonable, and he had like just a good philosophy on helping other people out. With the Republican base, they completely lost that. It's for the people. It's for them. It's just for the rich and for the corporations. And Schwarzenegger is not like that at all. I believe that even liberals who support the LGBTQ plus community are not going to support Caitlyn Jenner just because of her radical MAGA views, and that's so. Who's her base? Who's she going to appeal to?
I think it's probably garbage people, and I don't mean garbage men. I mean, she's a garbage person who. The one thing that always sticks out, well, first of all, even though she was for Trump in 2016, she did not vote in that election. She has barely voted in any election. So that's the first thing. The second thing is she ran over an old lady. Third thing,
killed her and killed somebody.
Old lady. No. But there's a weird thing that sticks out in my head that always makes me go, she's awful. And it's not just the whole like, well, her, whatever. There was a thing where a story came out where one of her old nannies, she just walked into the room. This was before she transitioned, and she like looked at the nanny. She's like, "You need a nose job." And I was like, "No, she's off my list. I hate Caitlyn Jenner. She has no business leading anything. She knows nothing. She is concerned with plastic surgery and being on television and maybe Wheaties." Yeah. Great. You go eat your cereal and get out of my state politics.
Yeah, I'm just tired of politicians thinking that this is just high school popularity contest. It's like being a civil servant requires a certain set of skills that not everybody has, and just because you're popular or a celebrity doesn't mean that you can do that job. I mean, it's clear that Trump was a terrible, terrible president, did not have any leadership skills at all. Like, he just destroyed this whole fucking country, led us into a global pandemic. Like, like there's no reason why a celebrity who like not even like a talented celebrity, she does nothing. Like it's just like she has a shitty fucking
she was
show.
At one point,
well, she was a decathlete, which was something completely different, but not in the limelight like she is now.
Right.
It's like that show is just a garbage show, and I mean I can't really comment too much on it because I don't watch it just because I hate reality TV. But like
you watch it.
I mean they're just celebrities for the sake of being celebrities. They don't do anything, and it just drives me crazy. I hate that type of mentality. People just like they want to gossip about them. Why? Like why? They don't do anything. They don't help society. Just go ahead.
I don't have much to add other than that, like, I really don't want to vote for Gavin Newsom again.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to.
Yeah. I feel like...
Yeah.
I feel like the disruption is what we want to avoid. Yeah, Angeline
is running.
Yeah.
You could vote for Angeline.
Another person who doesn't do anything.
You know what? Shut your mouth.
She has a nice pink Corvette. And for the people who are watching that are not in Los Angeles, you have no idea who the fuck we're talking about.
Google her.
She is a literal Hollywood celebrity.
Yeah,
as in she is a celebrity only in Hollywood.
And she doesn't do anything. She hasn't been in any movies, but she drives a pink
went
Corvette.
To my daughter's high school.
Whoa, wow. But she drives a pink Corvette, and everybody knows it's Angeline because they see her driving around, but nobody knows
on the license plate.
what the fuck she does. It's like,
she's Angeline.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. Like, so, anyways, I feel that, like the presidency, the Democrats of California just need to all come together and decide on one person if Newsom is recalled, and not say, hey, we're going to buy into shitty fucking celebrities. And also, I've lived in California for 16 years now, and I still have no idea how the fuck our gubernatorial race works. I have no idea. It's just all of a sudden, hey, there's a recall. They're like, what the fuck? Like,
well,
how come?
This is only the second time this has happened in the history of California.
Oh, really?
And yes, and notice it's happened in the 2000s. So the way I'm looking at it now is I think it may be a completely outdated thing, because this feels just like the last time. It feels like a political weapon.
Yeah.
Like, we're never going to get a Republican in, but maybe with this wacky recall election, we can slide one in. And that's not helpful. It's expensive. It's a waste of time. Why are we paying attention to this?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a great big Gavin Newsom fan, but at the same token, I don't think that he's done anything that has warranted a recall election. And now we all have to deal with this, and it's tiresome.
Yeah, it just seems like everybody's really pissed. It's like, oh, how dare you tell us that we can't go to our favorite bar or get our hair cut, and that's what everybody's pissed about. And it's like, it worked. I'm sorry. I know it was a big pain in the ass, but it worked. So
of course,
shut the fuck up.
Stupid. We live in a country of big fat babies.
Yep.
Yeah. I heard two people talking at my gym. They're like, oh man, now pretty soon you're going to have to bring that vaccine card everywhere. And I'm like, why is that a fucking problem?
Now, who cares?
What's the issue?
It's free to get the vaccine. It's free to have the piece of paper. You keep a piece of paper in your wallet. It benefits you. It benefits everybody else. You had to pay to get a driver's license. You had to pass two tests. Why is this such a big fucking problem to carry a free piece of paper? Anyway, let's move on to the next topic.
Beer. Oh.
Last night, President Biden once again called for police reform 8 days after Derek Chauvin became only the sixth police officer to be convicted of a police murder in the past 15 years. The House of Representatives has already passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but the resolution is almost certain to be filibustered in the Senate. In addition, the aforementioned Tim Scott has been working on crafting legislation on this issue as well, but his proposals lack enthusiasm from either side, with Democrats claiming they don't go far enough, and the GOP living in a fantasy world where Americans' reactions to police killings are worse than the killings themselves. Christine, Do you have any hope that Congress will pass anything at all?
Maybe something weak and watered down.
Yep.
Something that kind of pays lip service. Maybe a parade. Maybe a parade. But nothing until we actually could get somebody into, a greater majority in there. Nothing really major, really groundbreaking would happen on the federal level. We'll probably see and hopefully see things on the state and local levels. Unfortunately, what that ends up doing is, if you live in this state, you're okay. You may not get killed, but don't go to that state because you're going to get shot. So, it's like a lot of different things where we'd like to see big sweeping changes, and we're just going to kind of see little tiptoe incremental things until maybe by some miracle we get some more Democrats into the Senate. But until then, I think we're just going to see just kind of, because it's too big of a thing, they'll just turn around and say, well, the police officers don't want it. We're for the police. And
law and order.
Yeah.
Storm the Capitol, kill police officers, law and order. Do it for law and order. We like police.
That was kind of like Trump crossed with John F. Kennedy.
Law and order. We all need law and order. I'm orange, and I also like to drink my Chardonnay.
No one loves law and order more than you. Yeah.
I drove into the lake.
Say chowder.
Mary Jo.
Chowder. Chowder. It's
I'm
chowder.
You.
I gotta say, with the amount of effort made to cheer on how great the police are in his speech, I also have to agree that we can't expect much. I appreciate that, and I understand the reason for it. And, as much as I am, incredibly BLM and incredibly for defunding the police, I do think that the majority of cops are desiring to do good, are there to do good, may do good. But I also do recognize the arguments, and they're very valid, that the number of cops who aren't bothering to do anything about the bad cops that they have to be seeing on a daily basis really puts into doubt just how much good they're doing. And so it is a wobbly position all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but I certainly would never take the position that literally all cops are bad. But I do understand the sentiment of saying that and the reasons that go behind it. But that whole raw police thing definitely set in my mind, don't expect too much.
Yeah. It always drives me crazy when there's like, there's just a few bad apples. It's not all cops. It's like, well, if I worked a job and I was like, there's only a few bad people, my coworkers, I would want those people to be removed. I would be like, these guys are making us look bad. Yeah.
Finish the phrase.
A
few bad apples spoil the bunch.
Oh, there
exactly.
you go.
Again.
The entire point of that is you can't have only a few bad apples. If you have a few bad apples, you have all bad apples.
You got to get rid of them. But they're not doing anything to get rid of them. And they're just like, oh, no, our police unions will take care of those guys. We'll just give them administrative leave, and then they can take an early retirement. Well, they make $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
To another jurisdiction, and we can forget about them. And
well, that worked for the Catholic Church, so I don't know what your point is, Jet. But here's the problem is that there is this sort of foxhole mentality within a lot of police departments that we can't. There's two issues. One, if somebody is a snitch, they end up getting fired. That needs to stop immediately. Two, it's if you snitch, you are basically saying all cops are bad and we can't trust you and blah, 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 blah. And it's a culture. It is a culture within police departments across the United States. And that culture needs to change. I don't know how to change it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me, but yeah, I mean, it is a cultural systemic problem that we need to create a system where the good cops can go and report somebody, hey, this guy's sitting on someone's neck for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or to be able to say, hey, you're sitting on this. This isn't the military, because the military actually There are consequences for that
Yeah,
stuff.
they also have like rules of engagement or where they can pull their guns out and shoot people.
I know we hear a lot
with-
of bad shit about what goes down in the military too, but it definitely sounds like they have this shit together way better.
Oh yeah,
way better.
It's awful.
The training, of course, we know is ridiculous in the military.
Yeah.
That alone, but yeah, they take this kind of shit way more seriously, and they have to worry about all of these rules of war. You know, they can get arrested for literal war crimes, and they have for some of the stuff that they've done to prisoners of people who we all agree are the bad guy, and they treated them inhumanely, and they get shut down hard for it.
Well, I'm sorry. I feel like we need to have Congress act on one thing to try to help police reform, and it should
partisan.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Too partisan. I also said Congress, so that's two
New
drinks,
uniforms.
Yes.
Maybe make them like kicky and
shorts and cute polos. But,
like Reno 911,
yes.
Thomas Lennon.
But I feel it's the it's called culture laws, where basically the laws where that's probably not the right thing, but it's the laws where
Hot couture.
Yes.
Yes.
Juicy couture. Where cops, if they shoot somebody, they don't have to be held accountable. Like those whole laws. If they kill somebody, they're held to different standards than a normal citizen is. That needs to be completely reformed across the board. And then it's going to come down to like what state rights. But on a national level, it's going to be very hard to pass much of anything for type of police reform. I am in all for putting out other types of services that are that correspond to the type of crime. If it's a domestic violence call, you're going to be putting out some like social workers out to the scene, something like that. If it's something involving mental health, you're going to put out some mental health professionals. Traffic stops shouldn't be fully armed guys trying to shoot people in cars. Like I mean, I don't know if the answer is to have the cops who pull over somebody to not be armed. The reason why I say this is if you've watched the show Watchmen, they do kind of go extreme liberalism, and it does make me think about stuff like getting permission to use your gun and then having the cop get shot. Which I don't know, that's just an extreme case, but it's like it's just a debate to have. What do you think that patrolmen who are just pulling people over and giving speeding tickets, if they should have access to full force?
The problem is that we live in America and every single person can have a gun.
You need to have guns,
and that actually is a huge problem, because if you have police officers who are not trained the way some are in Europe for a couple years, and they may not have the temperament really to be a police officer, and every single person you pull over in the United States can possibly have a gun and shoot you, you're going to end up with people who are going to be trigger happy.
Well, that's why, exactly. Every cop, when they approach a car, it's a hand on the hip, slowly walk up, stand away from the window before they say anything, and then if they want to tase somebody, they grab their gun instead and shoot them.
Yes, I think that's protocol.
That is protocol, and so
that's what I heard.
I'm excited by some of the things that I see happening on the state and local level. I don't think anything's going to pass this Congress of consequence. What I would like to see more is just more Congress. I think the next step is just more district attorneys and more attorneys general trying to prosecute these cops and trying to throw the book at them and trying to get more convictions so that it is evident that there will be consequences to these egregious murders.
I mean, the protests work, and I feel that we should keep it up. And I know there's been a lot of opposition because these protests are riots and they destroy property. Well, no property is more valuable than anyone's life, in my opinion. There's probably some Republicans who disagree about that. But I don't care if I mean, I'm not going to go out and burn. I don't advocate. I don't try to say that people should go out and destroy property. It's we have a right to protest. We have a right to peacefully assemble. It's all part of our First Amendment rights, freedom of speech. And as long as people are marching and saying, trying to impose their will by stating why they are there lawfully and peacefully, I feel that it's 100% okay, and it is being effective. I mean, people are listening, and I think we should everybody should keep it up. Basically, I'm tired and I'm getting
Keep it
buzzed.
up. Let's
Keep
move on
it
to our
up.
next segment.
Woo, woo, woo. Here is the music.
Only place in which I dance this song.
It's a great song. Needed like a dubstep version. Wow.
Yeah.
Jet, who do you feel should get fucked this week?
Ooh, it's not only fuck off, it is get fucked.
I don't approve of this. I don't approve of this person getting fucked. I don't wish that on any partner they could have. Watching the speech, I was really struck at the moment where Biden spoke about lowering the cost of prescription drugs, and it cut to a shot of Ted Cruz, our favorite punching bag, in the audience, arms crossed, looking really pissed at this idea of cutting the cost of prescription drugs, something Trump supported as well. And that was it was one of the most perfect partisan moments.
There you go.
Because it demonstrated that he did not, like many of the Republicans in that situation, did not care what was being said, only about who was saying it. And this is a perfect example of, this was one of the cases where even I was able to look at Trump's efforts, and when he announced his efforts to reduce the cost of prescription drugs, I said, yep, good. That's good. Good job, Trump. That's one of the first and only things that I agree with you on, because I was capable of recognizing the thing he wanted to do was good, even if it was coming from a terrible person. Stopped clock, is right twice a day, assuming you're using a analog clock and not a digital clock, which just says zeros and is therefore only right at midnight if you're in 24-hour time. Anyway, I digress. Point being, Ted Cruz is a partisan schmuck.
Partisan schmuck.
As always, and can fuck off.
Yeah. I also feel that, so Ted Cruz, like, what the fuck is his actual platform? Like, he just tries to
get elected.
He just wants to try to appeal to his base, and you'll say whatever the fuck it is, even if it just contradicts everything. It doesn't make any sense. The guy is just completely bad shit, and he does need to fuck off.
Career politician.
Yeah. Did you say a queer politician?
I said career.
I would never
besmirch queerdom.
Okay, good. I was going to say he's not. Let's not do that.
No,
sorry.
I have too much respect for the queer community to ever connect the two.
Good, Ted Cruz.
Well,
is a
he
piece
is
of shit.
into LGBTQ porn.
That's
which
right.
He posts. Well, he likes
Good
on
for
his
him.
Twitter account.
Didn't he have a Grindr account too? And that he just.
I don't.
Or was that another Republican?
Are
I
we
thought
just
it was
spreading
Ted Cruz.
rumors that they
No.
use us? Because
I
I'm fine with that.
I thought that somebody looked at his phone and they saw there was a Grindr account on there, and he's like, "Oh, I just thought that was for coffee."
I feel like I'd remembered that, but I'm sure that was another politician.
Okay.
I guarantee you that's happened with multiple members of the Republican Congress.
Congress.
I don't see that. Anything I put up Ted Cruz Grinder in Google, and they're talking about some cartoon about his daughters and monkeys.
Wow, you really take some risks there, Christine, with certain things like that.
Yeah, I at least put incognito mode on there. Or
No,
safe
I
search.
want people to know my
Your browser
sick
history.
Anything
pleasures.
could have shown up on that screen.
Yeah.
Well, hey, would have been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, just got to entertain herself. All right, Mark, what's going on?
Yeah, I actually found who you were talking about. North Dakota State Representative Randy Boning
Boning?
Of course it is.
Yes. And so
After,
all their
he
names
was
are
caught-
puns.
he was
I have
caught,
a Randy Boney for
you,
you,
you
folks.
can't make this up. It's like,
He was caught on sending explicit photos. And earlier that month, he had voted against a bill that would extend housing, workplace, and other protections to LGBTQ North Dakota residents. Anyway, Dave, do you want to tell us who should fuck off?
yeah, I was debating about talking about my children's child care providers, but I can just say without anything else that they can fuck off. But that's another long story. That's for another night. But I want to say Josh Hawley.
Josh
Sorry,
Hawley.
I am not in the right.
Cruz, Josh Hawley.
Yeah, no, I'm just combining both of them because they're both
That's
such
fine.
pieces of shit. Josh
interchangeable.
Hawley, he was the only person to not vote for the Violence Against Asians Act. That one. Yeah,
Partisan.
partisan.
There's
Artisan.
a thing.
Yes.
Yeah, he's gonna vote.
That thing that he did was bad, and I didn't like
It
it.
had to do with women, but
I
it would have
don't
been
like it.
good. But he did the bad thing.
But you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. I'm really tired right now. But so it was that the Violence Against Asians Act in Congress, and he was the only senator out of 100 senators to not vote yes on it, and that's pretty fucking terrible. Like, I don't
In
care.
fairness, what if someone had a good reason to hate an Asian?
There's really nothing like
He could have gotten swept up in the mess.
I
Come
think
on.
his
Do we
reasoning
not-
was that he didn't want it to be too partisan, or do you know the reasons behind that? Partisan.
Drink.
Do you know the reasons behind that, Mark? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, I would guess that he voted against it because, like the people who track the data of like how often do you vote with Joe Biden, he wanted like the lowest score possible. So as part of running in 2024, that's the only reason that I can think of that he would vote against that.
I think it might be because he's racist.
Yeah, that is another
I
big
mean,
reason.
See, that too.
I always feel that when people run for president and they're a senator, people throw shit like, oh, you voted yes on this back in 1992. You're a terrible person, so I'm not going to vote for you 40 years later. Like, what? Like that
Well,
would
clearly, his constituents don't care.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah.
Because if they did,
They can't read. Oh,
I do take a little bit of issue with that gotcha that happens in politics a lot too, because a lot of the time when people are voting against a bill, it is sometimes because there's some poison pill in the bill that they were trying to avoid.
yeah, there's something
it was
added on that they don't
too
like.
far-reaching. It didn't reach far enough. A lot of the time, there are good excuses for someone to have not voted for something that sounds good when we're decades removed from it. And that happens on both sides. It is again another partisan trick.
There you go. In Congress.
But I try to avoid it to some degree, simply because I can recognize that our side of the aisle does that, and so I assume the other side is doing that too, where they're playing certain kinds of. They have to play the full picture, and sometimes it doesn't go the way it looks like it should have. So I do feel like it's treated a little unfairly in some situations. In other situations, it's incredibly obvious what's going on, and we can hold them against it.
Yeah, but we can all agree
especially when you're the only one that voted against it.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking sad.
That sticks out like a sore thumb.
Even people in Missouri hate that asshole. I don't know how he's still in power. Like, and I mean, fuck, if that guy runs for president, he's not going to do anything. But knock on wood. But yeah, so Josh Hawley can go fuck off, and Ted Hawley and Josh Cruz can also go fuck off. So yeah.
Sorry to our loyal listeners, Ted Hawley and Josh Cruz.
Yeah, I know. I was like, poor some guy named Josh Cruz. Is
My name's Josh Cruz. I didn't do nothing.
I was just watching the show.
And that's how a supervillain is made.
Yes. I'll get that inebriated insights. I'll destroy him, I tell you.
Christine, who should fuck off this week?
Let's just go. I was actually going to do Ted Cruz too, because that whole little
There's plenty of Ted Cruz to go around.
Well, that whole little performance of the falling asleep thing that he did was just like, okay, you're really so tired. 2 Big Macs before, the joint session. But I'll go with Lauren Boebert.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
she's classic.
Yes.
Because I feel like, like she tweeted all, like, you feel this sort of sense of self-satisfaction, like, I'm so clever, as she tweets out the stupidest things. And I hate that she likes guns, because I am not for guns. And I think women who are for guns are a traitor to our fairer sex.
There you go. You solve your problems with words.
I do.
Not guns.
Or with shopping. Am I right,
Yeah.
ladies?
More product.
Poison.
More Prada
Poison was
bags.
classically the woman's weapon.
Exactly.
And it's very effective.
And or being an angel of mercy. Let's give it up to them as well.
Those pillows are great.
Yeah. So, but I hate her. I hate her stupid pointy face. I'm not pretending like I'm going to be like smart or mature about this. I hate her stupid glasses. You don't need glasses. I don't believe you need glasses.
they're those glasses that you use for anti-glare when you're looking at TV screens.
Those aren't real glasses.
Computer screens, yeah.
Yeah, those are your I want to look smart glasses. I'm on to you, Lauren. I'm on to you.
She needs them so she can shoot her guns.
Did you see her reactions while Biden was talking about
Yes.
guns? Because, she was being
like,
extra dramatic. Like, you could see you could see through her mask all of the huffing and puffing and...
I cannot stand her. Her and the other one, Marcia Gay Thomas. Wait, Marcia Gay Harden.
There we go.
But no, so you know what, you Lauren, you can F off.
Heck yeah. Congress.
Yeah. I know we talk about him a lot, but Joe Manchin is mine for this week, because he went on Fox and said that he would not support any voting rights legislation unless some Republicans would vote for it. They just started an insurrection against the Capitol, Joe. They just did that. They tried to overthrow the fucking government. They're not coming along for any part of it. What I would really like to see, if they don't pass the whole bill, is Pelosi should just pass each individual part of the bill and send it to the Senate. And starting with the gerrymandering one. Because Republicans always say, it's a Democratic power grab, and it's just so that they'll be in power. And if we have a bill that just, the bill is like 4 pages long, and it just says, districts are drawn by independent commissions, nonpartisan commissions. And I want them to explain why they're against that. That's the biggest thing for me. That's the biggest thing for me moving forward, is the gerrymandering, as bad as the voter suppression is. Because when you gerrymander, we don't even have a fucking chance. Even if there is early voting or no excuse absentee voting. So that's what I want to see. And Joe, just like, I don't know if this is your continued performance art and eventually you're going to come around, but it's tiring and it's too much, and just shut the fuck up and get with the fucking program.
He's a closeted...
And Kirsten Sinema, too.
He's a closeted...
Kirsten Sinema,
from Arizona.
I have to do one more rant on her. Yeah. Because you look at Sinema's voting record, she is incredibly pro-women's rights, and she's incredibly pro-LGBTQ, because she fits into both of those groups. In terms of her record on voting for helping working people, she's worse than any Democrat. She's further to the right, almost further to the right than Susan Collins. It's ridiculous, which shows to me she has no fucking empathy for anyone and only cares about herself. So fuck her too. Fuck both of them.
Yeah. Well, I feel like both of them are just closeted Republicans. Like they're just a matter of time before there's like, I was conservative all along.
I feel like they are very passionate about like one specific Democratic thing
Yep.
that keeps them in the party, but
Mhm.
other than that, they're pretty much
Just like a lot of the
Republican.
Republicans are, it's purely abortion. That is the only thing that keeps them from voting Democrat,
Mhm.
and they refuse to ever vote for a Democrat because they're pro-choice, and that's the only thing. But that is the most important one.
And what drives me
Yeah.
crazy is like that I don't know 70% of these Republicans who are so pro-choice have actually
Pro-life.
pro-life, thank you, have actually either like had a partner that had an abortion or like paid for someone to
Yep.
have an abortion. Like they are just doing this just for the votes, just to
Yep.
And I'd say probably 95% of Republicans are abortions.
All right, I think we can end it there.
That
Hey, you're welcome.
Yo,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Dave, Christine,
Yeah.
Jet.
We had a fun
Always a
time,
pleasure.
guys.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, in 2 more weeks, we will be back at it again for more crazy politics with inebriated insights.
Artists in Congress.